Generally speaking, these two terms get thrown around pretty interchangeably, and they do not mean the same thing. And if you do already know the difference between stacks and interaction, A, congratulations, here's a cookie, but B, if you didn't understand the skit, this video is going to kind of lay out the differences between these two things and why one is actually really good and one is annoying. So first thing to kind of get out of the way is the fact that interaction is a requirement for every single commander deck that's going to succeed or be useful in any sort of game. And the reason being is because you have to be able to interact with other people, or you have to deal with threats at the table. Commander is a community collaborative game. It's not one person versus another person. So the most common example I'd see is mistaking counterspells for stacks. Now, if you are in a 1v1 situation, utilizing counterspells can lock an opponent out of the game. However, if you are in a commander game with 3 other people, you cannot have enough counterspells to lock everyone else out of the game. Now, what stacks looks like in commander is basically rearranging the rules to better suit yourself and lock your opponents out of the game. And the most common examples of this is like mana denial, sacrifice, or discard. Those are the big ones. There's a few other ones like land destruction, but we don't care about those. And generally speaking, I feel like the line that can be drawn between these two things is how generalized is the effect that you're causing. A counterspell is one specific card that you're not letting hit the board. Smokestacks does not discriminate. It hits everyone pretty much equally. But things such as like counterspells or target removal do deal with specific threats in each of their own ways. And by the way, these are the most common ones, but green has a bunch of like fight target creature cards, and that is still interaction, or red even has like burn spells. Those are all options for interaction and could be used as stacks in a 1v1 situation. Now, it's worth noting that the reason why I wanted to kind of like draw a line between these two things is mostly out of frustration, because I do see a lot of people really confuse the two and then they take it out on you during their next game, which kind of breaks some of the unwritten rules of Commander. I do have a video on that, by the way, if you are interested in the other unwritten rules. However, if you are newer to the game, this might be a way to kind of like help accelerate the need for having interaction in your decks, but also you might react differently because you can then be prepared for those kinds of things. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.